Hey guys, Clumsy here, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. There have been a couple of requests to do a proper tutorial on Pilot to ATC, so here we are. In this video, we'll be focusing on the installation instructions and things to get you started. We won't be able to cover everything because it's a very comprehensive topic, Pilot to ATC. But at the very least, it should get you started, and from there you can fumble around and learn on your own. And I can do some succeeding videos if you have some pain points and you would like me to focus somewhere else. But first things first, okay? So let's get it installed and let's get it running and connected first and foremost. So where do we start? We start off in the video description. Check out the video description. There should be a link there to my mods list. Mods list, plugins list, whatever you call it, there's a link there to the Google Sheets form like this. So this page should load up and you might be wondering, wait a minute, this is Clumsy's mods, but this says Euro Truck Simulator 2. Don't worry, there is a tab here. FS 2020 right there. There you go. So make sure to bookmark this page because this page is going to be updated all throughout as I add new planes, as I see new plugins, as I try out new stuff. Everything will be updated here, their versions, whether it's active or not, their specific links on how you download them or purchase them. And there's even a video link here, a video column where you can check it out for yourself, do like some kind of window shopping before you get in. Like for example, the Pilot to ATC. You want to see how that works first, then you click that link, you watch my video. Yes, a bit of shameless plugging there, but you get the point, right? It helps, I think. Well, you let me know. Anyway, so we're starting off here. We see Pilot to ATC right there, row 22 at this current time of recording. And you see the website right there, pilottoatc.com. There it is. Now, one thing that might boggle a lot of folks is how to connect it with the simulator, because Pilot to ATC is a third-party application and you need to find a way to connect it somehow. Thankfully, Dave, the creator of Pilot to ATC, made a specific article for that. That's the one linked here, avsim.com forums. And that is this one. So this thread is by Dave from Pilot to ATC, and you can see the specific instructions here, how to do that. Download the FSU IPC and all the different acronyms. But before we dive in deeper, I think it will be helpful to do a bit of classroom session. Sorry about this. Just to let everybody know and be familiar with the acronyms. There we go, PowerPoint. Class is now in session with Teacher Clumsy. There you go. All right, so we have two boxes here. We have the simulator on the left, and we have Pilot to ATC or any third-party application on the right. In this particular example, we are focusing on Pilot to ATC, right? So how it actually works is there is this thing you call, what do you call it? SimConnect, I believe. SimConnect. Yes. That is built into the sim. So this is how I understand it. This might not be like 100% accurate, but this should get the comprehension at least to understand the architecture and how these different acronyms link up with each other. So there's the SimConnect API, so that comes with the simulator. SimConnect in itself is able to, developers can leverage that. So if there's a third-party developer, one of the third-party developers I really like is LittleNavMap. That's the third-party application that connects directly via SimConnect. So here you can do like that, and so once you get LittleNavMap, it connects via SimConnect to the simulator. So you have that connected end to end. Pilot to ATC, on the other hand, doesn't have that. It cannot connect directly via SimConnect. It needs an intermediary, so to speak, a middleware. So it needs, in particular, this is the one, FSU IPC version 7. And if you put that there, so what it does is FSU IPC 7 is the one that connects via SimConnect, like that. and that is the one that connects directly to Pilot to ATC. So there is that additional layer, and that's why it says you have to download FSU IPC in addition to Pilot to ATC before you can connect to the simulator. So that's basically how the diagram works. Hopefully that made sense. If it's not completely accurate, just ignore it. It should get you a basic understanding of how things are working. Alright? Anyway, let's get back into this one. So, what does it say? It says download FSU IPC version 7 beta. So click that link. You get into the SimFlight Network forums by John Dawson. This thread allows you to download FSU IPC 7 beta. There are the two links here. Any one should get you the file. So I click that, and then you can say open with any zip extractor. Inside there is a folder. You just extract this folder to your any part of your hard drive. For me, I extracted it to downloads folder, and inside you should see an executable. Highly recommend you create a shortcut for this one. We'll see that later. But for now, don't pay this any mind for now. Okay, let's park that and let's move on. Alright, so that's the FSU IPC 7-bit done already. Let's get back to the forums here from Dave. So it says here unzip to a folder of your choice. Yeah, all the steps I'm doing, they are all mentioned here. Alright, you have now installed FSU IPC, and then what does he recommend? Start the sim and also start FSU IPC 7. Turn off ATC and MSFS so it doesn't interfere. And then after MSFS is completely up and running, start Pilot to ATC. Now, that is completely up and running. That I would like to highlight. That means you are in your plane already and not just in the main menu like where we are at the moment. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll jump into the sim and I'll meet you guys there. Okay, because some of the integration does not work properly if you're in the main menu only. Some of the information isn't, the connection isn't full. So let's jump into the airport here. But yeah, I'll meet you guys at the airport. Catch you guys in a bit. Here we are. Rainy day today in Manila. Alright, so let's get back to the page here. We have the sim loaded. We have FSU IPC. What we don't have yet is Pilot to ATC itself. So if you go to the main page, remember from the mods list, there is a link to pilot2atc.com. And from there, you can download it here, version 2.6 download. And here you have a couple of options. If this is your first time downloading, now let me highlight here, there is a free 10-day trial. Okay, you can try it for yourself, see if you like it, and then if you like it, then you can purchase it. I don't remember how much it is. Let's see, purchase $59.95 USD. Yes, it is pretty pricey, but you have a 10-day trial period, so you can check for yourself if it's worth it for you. For me, definitely is, but might vary depending on your use case. Anyway, so to download it, you have a couple of options. If this is your first time downloading, I highly recommend downloading using this one. Download this version with Navigraph 1801. Navigraph are the nav aids, the list of procedures, the list of airports, the list of waypoints, and all that stuff. For me, I have a Navigraph subscription, so that's a separate paid subscription that gives me the updated nav aids every month. But if you don't have that, it's still okay, because as you can see here, this download is with Navigraph already, 1801. 1801 I think means it's from 2018, from January 2018, something like that. Because right now the most current version is 2009, Navigraph 2009 ERAC cycle. So 1801 is from 2 years ago, but still not bad, at least you have something already. So no need for a Navigraph subscription if you just want to try it out first. It should get you in that ballpark accuracy. Right, so you download that, install it. I'm sure the installation is pretty straightforward, and no need to highlight that anymore in this video. Now, if you have an older version already, if you have something that is after 2.4, you can just download the update. So it says here, do not uninstall anything, do not delete, just install the update itself. Download, unzip, run installer, etc. Okay? And there's the user guide right here, which I highly recommend studying as well, especially the first few parts of it. There are 192 pages, so yes, it is very detailed, it is very comprehensive. So whenever you have a question, this is the place you want to check first. And if you don't find an answer, go to the forums right here. Remember this installing Pilot to ATC link from the mods list. You can go back to this one, the Pilot to ATC users forum. That highlights all the threads that are related to Pilot ATC. All the questions, all the different tips. So very large repository of information for you. Right, anyway, so let's get into this one. Installation, this is for, this is for XP UIPC. We don't really need that because as the name implies, XP is for X-Plane. What we need is FS UIPC. That's the one we just installed. So we can skip this part. We do have an additional info here for period and comma decimal separators. I think if you're in Europe, then those periods and commas might be inverted as compared to if you're in the US. So follow the steps here. If you're getting trouble, you might have to alter that a bit, the region settings. Okay. But this is what I wanted to highlight. Once you install Pilot to ATC, you have the executable. You have this window will pop up. Let me zoom in a bit. And you'll be able to say start trial or register. So initially you'll start your trial and the 10 days will begin counting down. And then after that is done, you will need to register. So this window will appear, these fields where you'll have to enter your key, and that's where you'll have to purchase the software. This one. So purchase it via PayPal right here, and Dave will email you with a key, and that's the one you can plug into the app. Anyway, regardless of that, after you've done with all those steps, let's close that now. Let's get into the plane. Wow, I love the pitter patter of rain. Nice. Okay, very nice ambiance. So we have that will eventually lead you into this point, Pilot to ATC. This is the actual application already, and yes, it is quite intimidating, all the buttons, but we'll go through the very basics here in this video. As I mentioned, I won't be able to highlight everything yet, but we can do it step by step, and you can let me know in the comments which parts you're having trouble with so I can focus on that on the next video, okay? But first things first, there are a couple of options for you. When you are making a flight plan, you can use the built-in Flight Simulator 2020 flight planner. You can export that, and then you can import it from here. Like import a file, the .pln file from here, and it will load it up. Like for example, if I just load that, or get something from SimBrief, save it as a PLN file, many different options for you. But for us, let's start from the very basic. Let's go here, start new flight plan, IFR. Now, first things first, we want to connect to the sim. And if you just press connect here, nothing will happen because what are we missing? Let's go back to the diagram. We don't have FSU IPC7 yet, or we have it, but we haven't run it yet, to be specific. So there is that missing piece. So go back to your FSU IPC7 folder, that executable, double click it. And this would open, you should see the splash screen, and then nothing would happen. But that's not really nothing. There is, if you look in your taskbar, FSU IPC7 should be sitting there. And if you double click that, you should see this window appear. And it would say if you have properly connected to the sim. And it does say connected here, so that's good. All right. Now, before we connect the sim, because I wanted to highlight this, you can actually do some stuff already in Pilot to ATC even before you connect to the sim. So you can already put in like the waypoints you want. For us, we are starting off in Naiya. So that's Romeo Papa Lima Lima. That's the IQ code for the airport. And we are going to, for example, Puerto Princesa. So it sees those because it already has a Navigraph integration. Now, as I mentioned a while ago, if you look here, it says Navigraph Airac Cycle 2009. That's the latest one because I have a subscription. If you don't have a subscription, then it will get the 1801, the default from 2 years ago for you. But more or less, it should still have most of the procedures in there. Just a bit outdated, so you should be good. So once you plug in these two airports, you see that line already, the flight plan, very basic. And then you want to validate that. So you'll have to set the climb rate, the cruise altitude. I think there are default values for it already. So I think the main thing you have to specify is the cruise altitude. It's like 350, flight level 350. And it actually corrects that for you. Even though I plugged in 350, it puts in 360 because we are traveling to the west. So it gives us an even number. So those details are put in as well. Your planned ground speed. You might not know that, but if you have SimBrief, you'll get that. But that's not terribly important at the moment. So once you have that, you might want to add some more stuff. If you're doing your flight plan here entirely, you might want to add certain waypoints. So you can always add that using this one, right? Or you can add like a SID and star, instrument departure or arrival. And this would load that Navigraph procedure list depending on what kind of Airac cycle you have. And you can see the complicated mess here. These are all the different departures. Different runways have different departures. And you can pick one here. And then it would show you exactly which waypoints those are, what's the en route transition, and different details there. And then you can say you can load that. So when you load that, that gets into the flight plan. And that should get registered there. Buka 2 Alpha, runway 06, Bukal transition. And that would reflect also in the flight plan. You can see all the additional waypoints there. Right? So that kind of makes sense. But what if you don't really know the SID? You're not familiar with the airport. So let's do that. Let's make a new flight plan. Start from scratch. And start from here. Now, one thing I also wanted to highlight, you see the SID and approach here, the runways. The app automatically picks something for you based on the weather. Because if you look at the config screen, and yeah, the config screen can be quite intimidating because there are so many tabs and features, but you don't need to focus on everything at the moment. Just start basic. Go straight to the WX, the weather tab. Pick weather source as NOAA Real Weather. That's the best at the moment when it comes to integrating with Flight Simulator 2020. Ideally, we would want SimWeather here, but I don't think that works yet. So there can be a bit of discrepancy with what NOAA Real Weather sees versus what the simulator sees. Not going to be 1:1, but should be close enough to at least pick the right runway. Okay, so that, given that, it would then pick the runways for you. And the important thing is, if you want the SIDs and stars to be automatically assigned for you, you have to go to the flight plan page in config and make sure that these ones are ticked. ATC assigns SIDs, stars, and approaches. By default, I think those are ticked. So even if you put anything in your SIDs and stars and approach, it would overwrite it because you're telling it to assign something for you. If you want to assign yourself, you have to untick those first, right? And it will assign something when you file that. So for example, we validate this. That looks good. If you want to file this though, it will say you cannot file a flight plan unless you're connected to your sim. This is when we need to connect, right? Now we have FSU IPC7 here, we have the simulator here, we have the Pilot to ATC app here, so all the players are here. Now we can press connect. There you go. So now you see different messages: simulator connected, recognition engine installed, and grammars loaded. Those three have to be present. Sometimes one of those are missing. That means the boot up sequence is not complete. Now what do you do then? Try disconnecting and connecting, or close and open the app, but all those three should be there. That's the ideal thing. And that's our plane. It already detects where our plane is. If you remove the flight plan here, you can even show airborne and ground planes. You can see it. Yeah, the app can see all the AI planes as well. It cannot see the multiplayer planes at the moment, but yeah, it can see the AI, and it can guide you accordingly. So there is someone taxiing there from the AI. Anyway, getting back to it. So now that we are connected to the sim, we can validate that again, and then we can file it. Now when we file it, it will take some time, but that's when it will look for SIDS and stars and approaches if you pick that in the screen. So that's going to be the important thing. And yeah, it might take a second or two though. There you go. So it assigned all the different SIDS, stars, and approaches for us depending on the appropriateness. So runway 06, Bukal 2 Alpha. You see all those waypoints now. It looks super professional, right? Even assigned an arrival and approach for us. And it even has the missed approach waypoints in there. So very detailed. It even has a top of descent waypoint. Given the descent rate that we put in, given our flight plan, it will calculate a top of descent for us. So we have a guide, and that's around, should be around that time when ATC will signal us to descend. Okay. What else? So now we have a flight plan. How do we start? So you have other options here like call sign. What do you want to be called by the operators, the air traffic control? Well, right now we are GA, so we pick GA here. Call sign, I would want to be called as TBM, and our tail number is, let's say, Romeo Papa 1 Charlie Lima. Save that. There you go. So we would be called TBM 1 Charlie Lima by ATC. Now there are so many other steps here, but I would want to focus on the core. By default, the sim, the app should know what's happening in the sim. So if you look here, the power is red. Let me remove the ignore there. 1 second. I'm just resetting some stuff for so that it would be default the same as how when you start things off. So if you look, the power is red in here in the lower left. That means the avionics are turned off yet still. And it's true because the plane is still off. So what we can do is start the plane. Just like that. And now, ideally, the power should be green. There you go. So now it detects that the plane, the avionics are enabled, so the power is green. That does not always happen right now. Depending on the plane, that may still be red. And if so, you have to go to the config and say, ignore avionics switch, or even sometimes ignore battery switch, so that it would just simulate that everything is enabled at the moment. So the integration can still be a bit wonky sometimes, but you can ignore those switches so you always get the proper integration. All right. What else? So you are connected now. Now you can do your stuff. You can either use your own voice, or you can use the Say It feature. So have your co-pilot say things for you. If you want to use your voice, then you have to use this push to talk key. And yes, I'm using the mouse here, but there are hotkey options for this as well in the buttons tab here. So for example, if I want to set a joystick button for the push to talk, I want to set this one. So I pick my joystick from here. I have a CH Eclipse yoke, and then I press the desired button. That's this one. It's button 0. Save it. Now, sometimes it doesn't work. Maybe we have to enable it first. There you go. And then the say it, let's clear that and assign a different key for it. So yeah, this is how you assign hotkeys. Put the cursor here on the button number and then press the button itself. And it should recognize that. This is button 20, so I want that. There you go. Alright, so that gets assigned there, and when you go in here, even if I don't click this anymore, I can just hold the key and you can see that it goes green. So push to talk is getting enabled using the joystick hotkey, which is essential. Alright, so that's done. Now how do we know the frequency? Now currently our frequencies are, let's go here to Navcom. We're at 124.85 for both, and that is synchronized here. But how do you know which frequencies you have to go to? Well, you can click the frequency tab in here, and it would show you all the nearby frequencies in the 25 nautical mile radius. So for us, where we want to start is clearance delivery. If we want to get our clearance, so we filed our flight plan, IFR flight plan, and now we have to get cleared for that flight plan. You can also even get the ATIS. So you can tune that manually 125.1, or you can just click it, and that should synchronize already with the radio there. So you see when we clicked it, it put that on standby. And from here you can either transfer using the normal method, or you can even use Pilot to ATC. If you click COM1 here, it should transfer it for you. Yeah, so it can be a bit of a tool as well, this app. You can press the standby frequency here, and you can plug in your frequencies via this app. So, you know, if you have those like the G1000, where you have to use the knob to adjust the frequency and it's a bit of a hassle, you just want to type stuff, you can use this one. And then you can, so for example, you want to go for ground 121.35. 121.35, and then say transfer. Well, that didn't really save it, huh? Okay, and then transfer. There you go. That's how it is. Now you might have heard a while ago there is a bit of chatter in there. That's a different plugin altogether. That is XATC chatter. That's also in the mods list, so you can also refer to that one. That's a separate paid add-on, and that integrates with Pilot to ATC. If you look at the sounds here, you can see the sound source, different chatter options. But yeah, that's an advanced setting. I wouldn't advise that for now. Start basic, start simple. So let's go and go clearance delivery here. Make that active. Now you have an option here. Now you are tuned into clearance delivery. It also says here in the plane. You can go and click this question mark. These are the phrases you can say. And then what do you want? You want to request something. So here. And then you want to request for, depending on what frequency you're tracked in, this will change. So right now we are in clearance delivery. So you only have access to get clearance related items. So clearance, and then we have the different options. We can either say that ourselves. So if I hold the push to talk key, TBM1 Charlie Lima, ready to copy IFR clearance.
TBM1 Charlie Lima is cleared to Romeo Papa Victor Papa. Climb via the Buca to a departure with the buccal transition, then as filed. Expect departure runway 06. Climb to flight level 170 via the departure. Expect higher
170.
clearances 10 minutes after departure. Departure on 119.9 Squawk 6150.
TBM1 Charlie Lima is cleared to Romeo Papa Victor Papa, climb via the Buca 2A departure, with the buccal transition, then as filed. Climb to flight level 170 via the departure. Expect higher clearances 10 minutes after departure. Departure on 119.9 Squawk 6150.
TBM1 Charlie Lima rear back correct. QNH is 1011 contact ground on 121.35 when ready to taxi. Enjoy.
QNH is 1011 ground on 121.35 TBM1 Charlie Lima.
You might notice there is an automatic read back. The frequencies are changing on their own. This is because if you, by default, I think this is also how it's working. If you go to speech tab, is that speech tab? Yeah, you can see the co-pilot options here. Responds to radio and changes frequencies. So if you want to do that on your own, you just untick these checkboxes so that it wouldn't interfere with you and you'll have to read that back manually. And so, example, we are now tuned to ground because our co-pilot changed the frequencies as well. Let's say if you want to request for, I don't know, engine start maybe, and you're feeling lazy, you don't have your mic set up, you can just press this. So call sign ready for engine start. It will be put in there, and then you can say it. There's also a hotkey you can assign for it. Say it.
TBM1 Charlie Lima ready for engine start.
So your co-pilot will say it for you.
TBM1 Charlie Lima engine start approved.
So engine start approved. You can either say that yourself or have him say it.
Engine start approved TBM1 Charlie Lima.
And how it worked a while ago, if you want to, let's mute that for now. If you want to actually have the co-pilot respond to everything and change the frequencies, take it off your hands as much as possible, then you can tick these checkboxes. So that's going to be very useful for you. Now, some people also want to, maybe the ATC communications you want to use in a different device, not in your speakers. Maybe you have a headset specifically for it. You can actually even change that here. So if you have a specific device for your headset, you can assign that here. So all the sounds from Pilot to ATC will be diverted to your headset. That provides a more realistic experience, even a more immersive one. Right? So many other things here. The voices, for example, how do you add multiple voices? I'll put this in the mods list. Why does that not get muted? So I'll put a link in the video description, a video on how you can add more voices in here for free by leveraging the Windows 10 speech packages. But yeah, it basically uses the speech voices from Windows. And then if you want, you can buy like a paid one and synchronize that here. But those are quite expensive. I think around $45 per voice. These sound more organic, more natural, but yeah, you'll have to pay for it. So for me, I'm happy enough with these free voices. Then you can test that here.
This is Microsoft Hazel Desktop. I will be one of your random voices for this flight.
This one.
This is Microsoft James the First will be one of your random voices for this flight.
Not too bad. Doesn't sound super real, but you can work with that. Right? So, what else? What other watch outs are there? So I won't go through the entire flight because the other parts of the flight are more or less straightforward. If you're familiar with how a normal flight progresses from clearance delivery to ground to tower, then it's more or less the same thing. But we'll do more videos of that full flights as we go along. I think I already have that actually in the playlist. Check out the video description. But yeah, I wanted to highlight the installation and connection problems and instructions in this video in particular. Right? Other watch outs, let me just go through the settings here. see if I missed anything. You can change what kind of units you're using, the units type. If you want to use the US method, like the altimeter 2909 or 2, then you can use that one, or you can use metric feet, which is used in Europe and everywhere else. Other things, VFR squawk code. Yeah, we can go through all these details later on, but these are not really that essential to get you started. You can learn these things as you go. Take things one step at a time. Don't try to absorb everything in one go, because it is super complex eventually. Now, what I wanted to maybe as a final watch out, one sec, that one. So if you go to the flight plan tab, if you're planning to use this in airliners, you go to flight plan tab, miscellaneous options, the vector leg distance. Because ATC will try to vector you sometimes. Like if you get a direct here in the approach, direct means they're going to vector you in towards the final approach. And the vectoring, how close each of those vectoring legs are, will depend on this vector leg distance. So if you are an airliner, you'll need a bigger vector leg, otherwise the turns will be a bit too tight and you'll end up overshooting the runway and the approach. So you can put something here like 5 maybe, but if you're flying GA, maybe 2 or 3 is enough, so that you won't have to like travel all the way across just to do a vector to final. So that can be adjusted, okay? But yeah, so many different options here. Try it out. Let me know if you have specific questions. And in the meantime, you can expect a lot of videos utilizing Pilot to ATC full flights, probably with the TBM, but I can also change planes if you have other requests. But yes, that should be how it is. Hopefully I didn't miss anything crucial. If I did, let me know in the comments and I will try to follow it up and try to answer your questions that way. Hope you found this video useful, guys. Thank you for watching, and good luck. Enjoy the journey. It's amazing. Thanks. Have a nice day. Clumsy flying. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.